Well, thanks so much for joining us today for our technical assistance workshop on the Creative Aging Initiative. So your first question, if you're not familiar with it, is what is the Creative Aging Initiative? This is going to be $10,000 grants, and they can be for arts organization, libraries, veterans homes, community centers, university colleges, town or municipalities to apply for, and it's for arts learning experience. Must serve older adults 55 and over, and teaching artists who are doing the arts experience must be paid $80 an hour, and it can be any art form, any discipline.
So to define what an arts learning experience is it could be an event, a workshop, a teaching session, a residency led by an experienced teaching artist that focuses on arts learning skills and goals. These may be sequential and build to a culmination, or they may be singular offerings that focus on skill building and development. When you are thinking about your proposed project, think about the audience that you are trying to reach. Sometimes sequential learning is not the best suited for some of the adults that we are trying to have as participants. So just think carefully about what experience might be the best for them, and you can build your program that way. And just to note that any offering that you provide through the Creative Aging Initiative must be free to all participants. So what is not an arts learning experience? Attendance. Attendance at events or performances, gallery openings, ballets, theater. This could be offered for your participants as a support component, but grant dollars cannot fund these events. This grant is towards arts learning with arts goals and arts education as the focus for our participants.
Okay, so for eligibility, please make sure you completely review these to make sure you're eligible before doing an application. You must be a New Jersey-based 501c3 nonprofit organization. So as I said before, it could be a library, veterans home, senior center, community center, college, university, or unit of government. You have to be an organization in good standing, which includes compliance with current Arts Council requirements. And if you already have a grant with us, you have to be in good standing. You have to be current with New Jersey's Charities Registration Bureau and the Division of Revenue requirements. And you also need to be registered in the Federal System for Award Management, SAM, and have its CAGE and UEI codes. You must be compliant with all pertinent state and federal regulations, and you have to be registered as a vendor in NJ START before the execution of a CHI contract. Oh, sorry, we moved to the second page. Your organization has to have experience working with creative aging or arts-based learning with older adults age 55 and over for 2 years or more. You have to be governed by an independent board of directors responsible for the governance and administration of the organization, its programs, and finances. You have to employ at least one half-time administrative staff person, 20 hours a week at minimum, responsible for contributing to the administrative oversight of the organization. You have to primarily serve New Jersey communities. You have to provide a location that is barrier-free and accessible by all participants, and demonstrate capacity to support a teaching artist and their programming.
Important dates to know about this offering is that the guidelines and application are currently available. Links to the guidelines and application are currently in the chat, but you can also access them on the Arts Council website. Please note that the application is due Tuesday, August 22nd at 12 o'clock noon. So please make sure that you are adhering to that deadline because no extensions will be made available. Applicants are advised to submit well before the deadline to address any issues with technology that may arise at the submission time. As you are working through your program and your grant application, please feel free to reach out at any time to contact Mary Eileen or myself, or Robert Wyszynski. We'll share all of those details at the end of today's webinar. But we also have scheduled virtual office hours where you can bring very specific questions about your about your grant. So if you are working through the application, you have very specific questions, please sign up for a virtual office hour. You can sign up via the link that is now in the chat, and you can ask one-on-one questions with either Mary Eileen or myself to get assistance on your application. Successful applicants will have a grant period from January to December of 2024. All awardees will be announced at our December public meeting, and with grant funds beginning January to December 2024. So as you are looking at scheduling your project timeline, please make sure that you are keeping it within that calendar year. A final report will be required 30 days after the end of the grant period and may be available sooner. I'd like to pass it over to our colleague, Robert, who will be discussing SAGE.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Samantha and Mary Eileen. My name is Robert Wyszynski. I'm the Director of Operations and Technical Assistance for the Arts Council. Along with me today, we have Rachel Rivera, who is our Operations and Technical Assistance Associate. And together we handle the brunt of SAGE. So what is SAGE? SAGE is the system for administering grants electronically. It is the Department of State's online portal system. We use Blue Sage. There's actually two different types of SAGE. There's Blue Sage and there's Green Sage. And we'll get into that a little bit deeper in a moment. But just so you know, the website is www.sage.nj.gov. If you do not have a username and password, actually, we may want to go to the next slide so they can see what that. Keep going, one more. Sorry. If you do not have a username and password, you're going to select the button that says New User, which is on the right side of the screen in the login box. Or if you forgot your name and your password, meaning you already do have a login for your organization, you would do forgot name and password. There's also some helpful links there at the bottom. Samantha, can you go back two pages? Thanks. And sorry, everyone. Thanks for sort of sticking with me on that. If you need assistance with registering for SAGE, my email address is there on the screen. We also have my email address, phone number, and Rachel's are in the guidelines. And it is important to note that the registration for SAGE, the portal where the actual application lives, and you will do the brunt of the sort of in-system work to submit the application, it's not automatic. So once you register for SAGE as a new organization, or your organization already has a SAGE account and you are registering for access to that account, it can take up to 48 hours for access to be permitted. It is all checked internally at the Department of State by a number of our administrators. So as I said, it is not automatic, which means if the application is due on August 22nd, the deadline for you to be requesting access would be Sunday, August 20th, but really you should probably be requesting access by Friday, August 18th. Can move to the next slide. So SAGE is essentially an operating system. It's a web-based operating system. It's made for both Windows or Mac. I do highly suggest that you use an actual computer, either a desktop computer or a laptop, rather than a phone or a tablet. Certainly you could get into the SAGE database by doing that, but it is not recommended. You will need internet access, and also the best browser, well, the recommended browser for SAGE is Google Chrome. Along with SAGE, you will be able to upload documents. In fact, you're likely required to upload a number of documents, and you will also be able to download a couple of documents while you're in there. So the guidelines will populate inside of the application itself. There'll be clickable links for that, and they will shoot out into a PDF. You will also be able to PDF your entire application at the end of the application process. And then same thing for your contract and your final report if you are awarded the grant. In addition, you will be able to upload in both PDF or Microsoft Word. And again, it is recommended that all uploads are done in PDF. Microsoft Word is not the recommended You can do it, but it is recommended that you don't. We are sort of back to where we started. So this is the home page for Sage. As I had noted, there is both blue Sage and green Sage. You will see the Sage logo up in the upper left-hand corner is blue. For green Sage, it is green. Green is meant for the counties. Most of the county agencies do have a green Sage, but there was a migration for all of them into blue Sage a few years ago. However, the passwords are different and the logins are different. So do not assume that just because you have a green Sage, that you will also then have a blue Sage with the same passwords and links. You will still need to register in blue Sage, and you will do so by clicking the new user button. You can move to the next slide. Once you select the new user button, there's a number of standard pieces of information that we're going to look at in a little bit more detail as we move through. But the most important one is selecting the granting department and agency, which is that you must select the Department of State Council on the Arts. If you do not select Department of State's Council on the Arts, we will not see your request for access, in which case it could potentially take longer than 48 hours for you to gain access to the database. The rest of the information on this page is pretty standard. We're going to look, you can move to the next slide, a little bit deeper at the username and password. So first and foremost, the username has to consist of all letters and numbers. You cannot have any special characters. Same for the password. However, the password must be 7 characters long. The password that you put in for the password field and then the confirm password must match, just like any standard database. And when you set this up and then actually move into the database to start working, you can change that password if you would like, but just to remember, it needs 7 characters, letters and numbers, and it can have no special characters. You will also need your FEIN, which is your Federal Employer Identification Number, your tax ID, and Mary Eileen went over a number of other elements that we require at the Department of State for you to move forward with your grant. But for the purposes of registering, the FEIN is the only one to actually register inside of the database. It is important that you create an account for each person at your organization that will be working inside of Sage, which means if you're starting a brand new organization for the purposes of Sage login, you're going to want to create more than one login. So if there's 3 people working on the grant, they all need to have their own separate Sage account. We, on our end, will link all of those accounts together so that you can all work together on the document, but each of you are individual. Each of you have individual logins. Each of you will have different accessibilities to different pages inside of the application, permissions, and so on and so forth. And it is important to include your title if you are part of the organization so that we can sort of figure out what sets of permissions belong with each of those individual roles. After you fill out that first page, you will click Save, and then we can move forward. Thank you. The first one we sort of covered already. The second one we've also sort of covered already. Sorry. Accident approval is not automatic. We did that, right? Okay, we can move forward. This one's good. Talking. So in front of you, you have 8 different orange arrows. So this is the screen that you're going to see when you log into Sage for the first time, meaning you've already done the registration part and or you already have a login. You have then received confirmation that your login has been approved and you actually log into the Sage database, and this is your home page. The number that we're going to start with for the arrows is number 6, not number 1. And the reason we're going to start with number 6 is because that is the space where your application is going to be available to you. It's in your view opportunities. So the application itself is considered an opportunity. You would select the view opportunities blue button and then type into the filter NJSCA and search. If our grant does not come up, please email either myself or Rachel and we will give you direct access to the grant. Just because you have access to Sage does not mean you will definitively have access to the grant, or you may have access to it and not be able to find it. So we will be able to help you navigate actually starting the application itself. Once you've started the application, you immediately go back to your home page. And again, we're looking still at the same page, 8 different arrows. The first one, now we're going to go to arrow 1, is your documents, where your application will live, and also further applications from the past, contracts from the past, final reports from the past, right? So as you move on through the application process just for this grant, and then also with the Council on the Arts or any of the agencies at the Department of State, that's where all of your documents will live. The application itself for the purposes of applying to the Creative Aging Grant will live in number 8, which is considered My Tasks. And in My Tasks, you will have a task, you have a document number, and then you will select that document number, which will then open the application for you. There are training materials at the top bar, which is arrow number 2. Organization is number 3. That's your organization profile versus your personal profile, right? Because everyone is going to have a different login, even though you're all going to be under one organization. And that's number 4. To log out, you would either close the screen and just hit the X, and then you will be forced to log in again, or you can just log out, and that's arrow number 5. As I said, arrow number 6 is where the application is originally going to be before you start it. And arrow number 7 is your inbox. So when you successfully complete the application and submit it to us, you will get a message both in your inbox and also to your email account that you've registered with. Same thing for when a contract becomes available to you, or when a final report is available, or any of those documents move through a certain pattern or path. Basically, if there's any work for you to do inside of the database will send you a message, and also it will live inside of My Inbox, which is the number 7 arrow. We can move to the next page. So just a little bit closer examination of how you're going to navigate the application once you've started it. So you're going to click on your profile personally, and then go ahead, move forward, which will bring you to a page that looks like this. And you need to make sure that all of your information is current and that it's correct. You may have access to Blue Sage from, a grant that you maybe wrote 5 years ago, even a year ago, 2 years ago, and the information is out of date. Maybe your title has changed, maybe the address or location has changed. Maybe you need to update your password information or an email account. This is where you would do that. And again, you will then hit save once you've updated the information, or at least confirm that it's correct. Move forward. The next thing you will want to confirm is your organization details. Go ahead, move forward. Which is a page that looks like this. Inside is a lot of grayed out area where you will not be able to change things. However, myself and Rachel can change that information for you. So again, you will want to email us. We can update it for the entire organization and then make sure that populates on your end. But there is an element that you will have to fill out, and it's 2 different pages, and you will want to do this before you actually start the application. So go ahead and move forward, which is the organization details. And there's 2 different pieces. The first is the New Jersey State Council on the Arts board chart, and the second is the additional profile information required by the Department of State. As I had noted earlier, the entire Department of State uses Blue Sage, and so there is information that we all have to collect, and because it is universal information, we've chosen to place it in one area for everyone to work together. And then inside of your application, that once you open that page, that information is going to automatically populate for you. So you can move forward. And this is the first one. It's asking, again, pretty standard information. Some of it Mary Eileen went over a little bit earlier, right? You have to be registered in charities. Your charities has to be compliant. This is where your charity number would go in so that we can actually check your compliance on charities. You should not be putting a 0 for your organization being exempt, just to make sure everybody knows that. Your division of revenue number, same thing. You need to be registered in division of revenue and be a not-for-profit 501c3. It'll ask you for your fiscal year start and end date, information about your executive director. You may be the executive director who's also filling out the application. And it might seem like you're duplicating work, and you are, but these fields fall into different places within side of the application. And then it's also going to ask you for a little bit of board information, or some general board information. The second page, you can move forward, is going to ask you much further detail about your board chart, where basically you will identify each of your board members, how long their years of service have been, if they hold an executive title on an executive committee, diversity, so on and so forth. And again, you will want to hit save on this page and save on the page prior before moving forward. Once you've done that, you've pretty much crossed a big bridge, right? So we've gone through registering to get into Sage, or maybe you already have access. We've gone through starting the application itself. We've gone through making sure that your information is up to date if you already have Sage, or that your organization information is up to date so that it populates correctly. And then also those two last pages that we went over, which are going to populate then inside of your application itself. This is once again your inbox, which we've pretty much already covered. Again, you'll be getting a message once your application is successfully submitted. This is where you would look to ensure that. You can move forward. And we've also already gone over my tasks, which again is where you would select the document number to work inside of your application. You can move forward. If you need specific details about Sage, those training tools, right, which was one of those arrows at the top in the presentation, it'll be in that top, I think it's a black bar, is really helpful. I actually just went over it earlier this week, looking forward to some things that are coming up, and was quite impressed at how well put together those training materials are. There's also training materials on our website, which is a very detailed packet with lots of slides, and it's a step-by-step both for registering and also navigating an application. So please use the one on the website, or please use the one that's directly inside of the Sage portal. You can move forward. And then just a last few things. So as Mary Eileen had mentioned, a number of elements of compliance, NJ Start is one of those things. Everyone is going to need to have an NJ Start if they are awarded the grant. You will have to have one. I see Samantha just put in the chat the quick reference guide. Thank you. That guide is pretty standard. It's pretty simple. NJ Start is the state's treasury system. We use it for all of our vendors and also all of our grantees, and everyone who receives a grant has to be registered in NJ Start. However, NJ Start is a different division because it's in Treasury. So Rachel and I are able to assist you with getting in touch with them, or finding a different person, a phone number, an email, so on and so forth. But we actually don't have capabilities of navigating that system for you like we do with Sage. With Sage, we can be a little more hands-on. So it's important to start your NJ Start registration early, so that you're able to navigate through that. You can move forward. Same thing for Division of Revenue. The Division of Revenue is the Division of Revenue, not the Department of State. So again, Rachel and I have to be a little bit more hands-off on that, but you will need to be registered as a not-for-profit 501c3. And I think the last slide moving forward is going to be charities, right? Thank you. Yes, which is charities. So your charity's registration needs to be up to date, and it needs to be compliant at the time of application, at the time of the award, at the time you receive the first payment, and at the time you close the grant. You basically can never fall out of compliance with charities. So that's certainly something you want to keep in mind, even right up until the day that you hit the submit button on your application is to make sure that your NJ Start, your charities, and your business registration are all squared away. Oh, and I think the UEI, which we don't have a further slide on, but I do know Mary Eileen covered that a little bit earlier. And I think that's it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. The questions that are coming into the Q&A are great. Please keep them coming. We will address them at the end of today's webinar.
Okay, so we're going to preview the application now that Robert has gotten you through Sage. So under the organization section, you're going to describe your organization, its mission, the community that you serve, and share the organization's programs or offerings that you've had for older adults. So whether it's been, you know, long-term classes or even just one-off events, be sure to articulate all of that information. Okay, the proposed projects. You want to fully describe the proposed arts learning projects, including the art forms, and you can do, you could do 2 different residencies and 2 different art forms. You need to include the number of activities that will be taking place, the number of hours per day, the audience that you anticipate reaching, and the priority or community needs. So if you have in your past work found out that you know, there's a need or there's a desire for theater classes, then, you know, you want to include that information. You want to talk about how the project will be accomplished. What resources are you going to use? Is it staffing that's existing? Do you have to hire somebody to come in and do it? Are there planned partnerships that you're going to use? Who is the teaching artist? If you know the specific artist, are you going to be working with an arts organization that will provide a teaching artist in partnership? So explain it as clearly as you can.
So to define what a teaching artist is, again, you do not have to come equipped with a teaching artist. You can form a partnership with an arts organization who will provide teaching artists to you. But if you have an artist either on your roster or somebody that you work with, you are more than welcome to include them as in this proposal. A teaching artist is someone who has a dual career, one that is a practicing artist and also as an educator. Teaching artists are trained in educational techniques and they make education central to their career in addition to being a working artist. They can work in many different settings. They can be working in schools, at museums, in hospitals, in correctional facilities, and much more. Again, how to get a teaching artist for your residency, you can have an existing relationship with them and bring them on, in which case, if you are working with one or many, please include their resumes as PDFs in your support materials. That is one of our required support materials. If you are partnering with an arts organization who can provide a teaching artist for you, please describe this partnership in your application. Detail the roles and responsibilities of each of the partners and include key personnel at each of the organizations. That support component will be a letter of support from that arts organization saying, we have teaching artists who have experience with older adults. We are more than equipped to provide this, and we're more than equipped to partner with this organization to implement the arts learning experiences. Learning goals will be central to your proposal. Learning goals should be measurable and support the needs of the community. While we all hope that your improv classes might lead your participants to the SNL stage, might not be something that's measurable or that we can attain within this short period of time. So please make sure that the goals focus on arts learning, that you can see those goals attained within this calendar year, and please include your teaching artist or your arts organization in crafting what those goals may be. Some examples for learning goals can be found at the links now in the chat. These are geared towards students, school students, but the application still applies for this population. And this is New Jersey art standards as well as the social emotional art standards. So again, might give you some ideas as to what some of these arts learning goals can be for these experiences.
You're going to want to think about the accessibility of your program. How will the host organization provide an equitable, accessible, barrier-free experience for everyone? You want to include details about the host organization site and how you know that it's accessible. How will the host organization provide program accommodations to ensure that the experience is accessible to all? So will you need sign language? Will you need large print materials? Will you need captioning? So think about who you are serving and what kind of accommodations they might need. All applicants will be asked to complete an ADA checklist regarding this project and your space, and that will give you ideas of the kinds of accommodations you could provide. You're going to have to also include charts. So you're going to have to include a board chart, a project staff chart, and a finance charts, both the revenue and the expense side of that. So, you know, be prepared for that.
This grant does not require a match. So on that project budget site, for both expenses and income, you may only have this grant. However, if you are including any additional funds to supplement the grant amount, you can include those on the income side, and we will see it expended on the project grant budget. Again, this grant is $10,000, and those funds and any additional funds will be used as direct project funds to implement this work. Within that budget, we should see no less than $80 per hour for teaching artists time, plus travel and planning time. Please, please, please utilize those budget notes to fully explain what your budget is. That way the panelists have no concerns and no questions. They can read it and easily see what each dollar amount is going towards. And a reminder that no income from the participants should be received. This programming should be provided without cost to the older adult participants. Now that is the project budget. You will also be asked to input an organization or departmental budget. So for many of our towns or libraries that are part of larger municipalities, that could be extremely large. We get it. So if you want to focus on solely your department budget rather than the entire town or the entire county, you are welcome to do that. And support materials. All of these materials are required. Please upload as PDFs in the following below order. This order is listed within your guidelines, so you are easily able to follow what the order is. And as we mentioned, please upload as PDFs. We will not be accepting docs at this time. If you have a teaching artist or multiple artists that you already know that you would like to work with, please upload their CV or resume. If you are not working directly with a teaching artist, but you're partnering with an arts organization who can supply those teaching artists for you, please provide that letter of support from the arts organization, which shares that they will take on some of this responsibility and that they have teaching artists on their roster who can work with older adults and have in the past. We would like to see a timeline of your project, including the planning time, the project activities, how many there are, their length of days, when it will take place within the calendar year, and any time for evaluation and documentation of your project. And then if you can submit as one document, any documentation of past work with older adults, we'd greatly appreciate it. No more than 5 pieces is enough.
Okay, so now we'll go to questions. And I think we have a couple in the question and answer. There's one, my library is not in the list of 4 current with New Jersey's charities registration. You've never heard of a municipal library. If you are not a nonprofit, then I don't think you would be in there, but Robert may answer that better than me.
Yep, that is true. And also if your library is part of the municipality, you should not be applying through Sage as the library, you should be applying through Sage as the municipality, and they likely already have a Sage account. So you should probably get in touch with someone who handles finance, likely, or is in some kind of a business role at the municipality, in order to gain access to Sage. They can give you access essentially rather than you registering for Sage. So, you know, in the municipalities, and even in the counties, there's quite a lot of people inside of one Sage profile, and that is correct. That's the way it's supposed to be, because things like charities don't apply to you, and therefore it has to live inside that Sage profile, because that's how the whole system works. So that makes sense.
There's a question from a county cultural and heritage commission that they're going to be partnering with the library system and senior center for the application. Should they use their board budget, et cetera, or those of my partners, or all? I would whoever's going to be the lead organization, I think you should use their budget. So, you know, if you're going to be the lead, use yours. If the library is, use theirs. So that's kind of a decision between the partners. Any other, Robert or Samantha, you want to chime in there? Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me. Yeah, you essentially don't want to have one organization apply and then just become the pass through of funds for the project taking place somewhere else.
So Margaret, I see your question, but I want to go to the anonymous because it's connecting to what we've just been talking about with the public library. So we're a public library, but in terms of financing, budgeting, and operations, we're completely independent. We have our own cage, and I'm updating our SAM account now. That's all separate from the township. So that's fine. That's perfectly normal. I think there's many libraries who are part of the township, some who are operating separately. So I believe you're able to continue on your own through Sage without having to partner with your township or county. You'll be able to move forward, but those who are part of the larger township system or county system will most likely need to be working with them to submit the application. Great. Thank you. Margaret, we have not had 2+ years experience working with older adults. Can we partner with an organization that has? We would host the workshops, but work with their artists and with them to develop their workshops. I think that's a great suggestion. I think working with an arts organization, they should be the one that's applying if they have had that experience working with older adults. So if they're the applying organization, you can partner with them and host your events, your workshops, your residencies at your location, and share that load. How many grants are available? How many applications did you receive last year? So this year we are looking to increase our investment. Last year we had 22 grants. I believe we received, oh goodness, we had close to 40 that applied. Not all were eligible, so we only granted out 22. We are hoping to grant out more this year. However, it depends on, again, how many apply and how many are eligible for that. So looking between 20 and 30 is our hope this year.
Okay, and then Natalie has a question. The senior center and library have experience working with older adults, and they reach older adults through them. Does the teaching artist also have to have the 2 years documented experience working with older adults?
They should have some experience working with older adults because it's a different population. Different needs and accommodations are required, but I don't believe the panelists will be counting, the years that they've been working with them. They do want to see that they do have some experience and knowledge working with this population, because the needs are different than, say, an early childhood population or even a typical K through 12. So the 2 years isn't a requirement, but we do want to see that there's some experience and knowledge of working with this population.
Okay, and I don't see any other open questions, but if there are any last minute ones, go ahead and chime in.
Thank you
But
so much.
yeah, thank you. And, feel free, you have our contact information. Feel free to reach out to any of us as you look to apply. And we wish you the best of luck in applying for this grant, which is really exciting.
Great. We do have some questions. Leslie, I am going to allow you to speak. Let me click that button.
Okay. Yes, I have a question. We are an arts organization. We did get this grant and we're going through our first time using it. We have teaching artists. They teach older people. This is a wonderful program. My question is, and it's because I'm taking the training and I haven't gone back to look at our budget and the grant submission for this year, but it would be to make sure that we are able to include in our budget offsetting the costs for us, the art center. We have one part-time person, we pay her, we are all volunteers, but we need money to offset our costs of running this type of program, not just paying the artist. So I wanted to ask and be sure that when we put together the budget for the program, that it is acceptable to include costs from the art center for our admin to be working on this. Because of course, we advertise this and, we do all the work. We have the site that the classes are held at. We manage all of the participants. We do not collect money for it, which normally we would, because we have classes and, normally they would pay for them. Are those types of expenses acceptable? And again, this is because I'm in the training. It's not easy for me to go back and look at our submission.
Sure. Yep. Happy to answer that. So we do expect to see that there will be some administrative costs within this budget. Typically, anything over 10% is not viewed as strongly as an application that anything over 10% of administrative overhead is not going to be viewed as strongly by the panelists as someone with a lower number. Because this is a project grant, we want the majority of the grant dollars to go directly towards grant activities. So of course there is going to be a little bit of admin time. We expect travel, a little maybe space rental, supplies, those are all eligible costs. I would just really be mindful of the amount of the project grant that goes towards administrative overhead, but we do anticipate that there will be some within these grants.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
There's another question, that you sort of answered, does the $10,000 cover the artist and supplies? Yes, the artist's payment and supplies are included in that, as well as some of the other expenses that Samantha just mentioned. This recording will be on our website. I don't know that it's going to be emailed, but it will be available on our website.
And this PowerPoint will also be available too. So all of the links that are within this, you'll be able to click, no worries. And I just wanted to address, there was one question I answered in the chat. Does the program need to run all year? That is a no. All of the events just have to happen within the year. So you're welcome to do all of this work within 10 weeks in the spring and be done. That's perfectly fine. Just share us what that timeline is. However, if the timeline exceeds the calendar year of 2024, that's where your project will not be eligible. But it does not have to be year round. It does not have to be multi-county reach. It just has to happen within the year. And all dollars must be expended by December of 2024. Any other questions, concerns? Sorry, go ahead.
And start early.
Yes.
Start soon. Do not wait until the day before or the day of, certainly, or even 2 days before. You really should, if you have all intentions to apply, you should begin on getting your paperwork together, and also registering for SAGE, making sure you have charities if it's needed and required for you based on the guidelines, so on and so forth. Do not wait.
Can this support an ongoing senior initiative, or does it have to be completely unique or new? That's a good question. What I would answer is, I think we would make it clear for the panelists. If this is an ongoing initiative, really describe the dollars that are currently going to this work within the budget, explain very thoroughly within your application why these funds can enhance the work that is already happening. Mary Eileen, other thoughts?
Yeah, I think you'd have to make a case for, if you're already doing this work and it's funded, why you would need this grant, but also, like, this would specifically have to fit in with all the parameters that paying the artists, free to participants. You know, it's a little more of a kind of a separate program. So I think it would have to maybe be in addition to what you are currently doing, rather than just supporting what is ongoing.
Thanks, Mary Eileen. It can be a challenge that it is not a sustainable initiative. It is more like a one and done. Understood. Thank you. Yep, we are committed to serving older adults for this work. This is our second year of this initiative. We're going to see how successful this application round is. There is a commitment by the council to continue to serve all New Jerseyans. And so far we're seeing success with this program, and I'm hoping that we are able to sustain this or something like it.
And
So
what we are finding with some of the programs that have been going on this year is that the organizations are seeing such value to it that they are incorporating this work into their ongoing work, or they're finding other support as well. So, it is getting the attention of other funders and other organizations that are really seeing the value and want to continue it.
if you received this grant last year, can you repeat the programs if they were successful? Certainly. Again, just make a case as to, how this grant was able to support your CHI initiative this year, what a new grant, how it will add on to and enhance the work that you are already doing. I think just make a really strong argument for why these programs were successful and how you're going to adjust to, continue this work, sustain this work, and hopefully reach new audiences. These are all really great questions. Thank you. There is no advantage to being a new applicant versus a recurring one. All of our guidelines for how panelists will score are available in the rubric. So that rubric is public. I'll populate it in the chat again. And as you can see, everything has weights to it. There is no additional weight for being an existing grantee to being a new applicant. So that will not be viewed as more favorable or less favorable by the panelists. This grant is a wonderful add-on to what we offer. Giving back to older adults is in a positive, healthy way. COVID has impacted us all, and this is a gift to the population to help them stay healthy and learn. Leslie, that's exactly what we're hearing. COVID has been an isolating experience for all of us, but no more so older adults. We all know we're all here because we believe that the arts are connectors in addition to just being important for all of us as humans. So we are committed to this work, and I'm so glad that you all are as well. Any tips on? Sorry, go ahead, Mary.
I was just going to say, any tips on finding a teaching artist? I would look to arts organizations that are in your community. And if you don't know who they are, you can contact either your county cultural and heritage agency. You can look on our website at all the grant awards that we just gave out to find arts organizations. You can even search by county to see who's in your there are many teaching artists out there.
Why is there so much less time to complete this grant this year? Thank you for that concern. We are offering a lot of grant opportunities this year, including our largest grant, which is our general operating and general program support grant. It's a busy schedule this year, and we are committed to providing as much technical assistance as possible for all applicants with this particular opportunity. But this is unfortunately or fortunately where it fits within the calendar to ensure that you have as much access to us as you deserve. If it's pushed any further back, we'd have multiple grant opportunities available and that attention might not be there. So thank you for that concern. It's something that we are noting, but hopefully this will be greater access to us and we can provide more technical assistance than we would at another time in the year. Any other questions, concerns, intellectual curiosities? Y'all are great. Y'all are wonderful. Thank you so much for your time and energy. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. We are so grateful that you're here and we look forward to receiving your applications in a few weeks. Thank you all. Have a great day.